The first drive I went for, ironically,
So one sec, you went for a drive first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lord also.
All right.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
at this place called Golden Huts, just outside Gurgaon. And now it is a old rundown property. Back in the day, it
Acha.
was the cool place outside. There was,
Mm,
apart from this, there were basically dhabas.
mm,
So you took the car from there, and the road to Jaipur was the fresh 4 lane. Yeah, that stretch was 4 lane. I don't know if the whole road was 4 lane.
mm.
So you drove the Alto, you came back, and how was it? Yeah, a little body roll and all. We made some stuff up. We didn't know anything. Luckily, there were
Okay.
other journalists there who were discussing things.
Huh.
And so you gather from the senior guys saying, oh, okay, they think this car doesn't have too much body roll. I think it has too much body roll. So recalibrate.
Huh.
They think the engine is really smooth. Recalibrate.
Huh.
So my story carried a lot of
Inputs.
wisdom that I gathered rather
Mm,
than my wisdom. I didn't know anything.
huh. Yeah, I mean, like this is what we always say, right? Unless you ride enough
Yeah.
of different vehicles, unless you have those reference points,
Yeah.
how do you take a call?
No, and the lack of reference point is a huge thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I met a friend of mine called Prashant in Mumbai. And Prashant was in the circle of people who used to keep getting grey market bikes, riding them for a while, moving on from that bike. And Prashant fell into the habit of letting us ride his bikes for stories.
Mm.
So one day he called, like right at the start, and says, do you want to ride this new Yamaha bike called the Thunder Ace?
Mm.
What is a Thunder Ace? It's not on sale. He said, no, no, it's a 1000cc inline four. Okay, yeah. So we went to Worli Seaface. I rode the bike. And I wrote, you should, if you can find this story, it'll be kick ass because you laugh your head off, okay? Because the story is like, oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay, I wrote the story. And then successively, I wrote many, many more bikes. And as the stories progressed, my ability to understand how good, bad, ugly, etc. became better. Then many years later, I read the Thunder Race reviews from when this bike was new in the world. And they were like, oh my God, what a terrible motorcycle this is.
yeah, I mean, of course. How would you know?
How would I know?
Yeah.
Right? So,
Hey, come on, don't be so hard on yourself because, like, right now we can still see, like, when we go, I mean, we talk about the European press that way. Their take on single cylinders is not something
no,
that you can
no,
take seriously.
in fact, the loop closes much later because then when you go back to Europe
Hmm.
and you keep going back and riding more and more machines in our conditions, in their conditions,
Hmm.
and when they start reaching conclusions for small motorcycles which they are unfamiliar with,
Hmm.
and then you find yourself correcting them saying, no, this is not actually how it works. Right? Like we run into Chad a lot.
Hmm.
And now the discussion with Adam is very different from where it started because in the beginning, Adam was giving us lots of information.
Hmm.
But now, when, for example, he's at a Royal Enfield launch,
Hmm.
Adam and I will usually chat where I get to set a lot of context for him in terms of how it works in India and why Royal Enfield would do certain things,
Hmm.
which
Okay.
may not make at first glance sense to him.
Hmm.
Right? For a long time, if, for example, Royal Enfield says export, 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 export.
Right.
So I met him and he's like, why are they doing this? I said, no, no, you have to remember, despite all the marketing for export, Bajaj is 50-50 more or less for exports. Royal Enfield is still 94-6.
Hmm.
94% of this product is never going to leave this country. 6% will get exported, and they're working very hard to bring that 6 up to a far larger number. Until then, this bike's primary context is India. So the conversation over the years changes because you're able to understand the larger picture every single time.
Hmm.
So that initial part of that excitement of everything is just kick ass. And I wish in some ways that I could unlearn everything so that you could find that
Yeah, I
excitement
know.
again, right? But what I have learned from that over the years is, and I think Bijoy has a big part to play in this, is to keep an open mind
Hmm.
and let brands surprise you.
Hmm.
You always hope that the next product is the game changer for them, for the segment, for the customer, for the market, for what India represents to the world, all of it. And you always go in with that hope. And it doesn't matter which brand it is. It could be somebody who's struggling, like say Java, or it could be somebody who's super established, like say Honda. And you get your heart broken a million times if you have to. But you always go expecting this one will be kick ass.
You know what, on this front, which is why I always think I'm terrible at what I do, because for me the bias is so strongly towards the machines. And I always look at a machine and I think it's not the machine's fault. It's the people who made those decisions, it's their fault.
Yeah.
So when I look at it must be right for somebody. It's okay, somebody it will fit. It should be right for someone. But yeah, I mean, as the machine, I mean, that's always been my joy and happiness in this. And finding some which are very narrowly, have a very narrow window in which they operate, that has been something that I've it feels painful at times.
Yeah, so I don't think I feel pain on that anymore, because I learned along the way that just because it exists, it need not be appreciated. So I'm able to separate the fact that I took a bad situation where, for example, it could be something simple like they selected a bad place to start this particular preview. Could be they engineered it badly, whatever it is. But that is for my story. First, I must have a good ride. And I'll do the things I need to do a good ride, which is going faster, going slower, asking for extra time, not riding it too much, whatever it is. I'll have a good time so that my experience of riding the machine is a good experience. Then you can take the cold, hard stand and say, okay, now,
That's the part I struggle with.
now how do you set context for this? Where does this thing fit in? And manufacturers sometimes do really, really nutty things, okay? We went for the launch of the Gladiator, which was a 125cc Yamaha motorcycle. Now, it's based on the YBX engine. So it's not a very powerful engine to start with.
Gladiator.
Yeah. So the Gladiator is being launched. Where is this hotel? It is just below Shimla.
Ah, yeah.
Were you there for that launch?
No. I remember this story.
It's below. Where do we go first? Uphill. Everybody's like, this bike is not going, this bike is not going. And it was a rookie mistake in that sense, right? If you take a weak motorcycle and you're on a hill, the first thing you do is make everybody ride downhill.
Correct.
So that your first impression of the bike is, yeah, this is so powerful. But then from that top point, we went all the way to the bottom of that road, which was 30, 40, 50 kilometers of twisties. Holy crap, it was so good.
Yeah.
So at lunch, the mood had changed completely.
Which car to buy, which bike to buy, which one to not buy. You're always stuck in these decisions, aren't you? Well, I'm sure you are. One thing that we can help you with right now is with one piece of advice. Head to the main MotorInc channel, catch up on this entire conversation, and I'm pretty sure those other confusions will get cleared up.